Good morning, everybody. How's it going? Welcome to the Scarred Thumb Podcast. Hope you all are doing well today. I'm just checking everything. Good to see y'all. Who do we got? Baron Gaslight. Good morning, Deborah. Good to see you. X-Runner. Hello. Good to see everybody. The chat already pretty active right at the beginning. That's awesome. Awesome to see. Today, got a few pretty cool things to cover. The first thing, though, that I wanted to start out with was this is kind of an older article. If you follow me on the Substack, I wrote it over there, but I didn't want to talk about it on the channel because it was Christmas. I wanted it to be more positive, a little more friendly. So I cut out the sort of negative stuff for a while, but hey, it's the beginning of the new year. It's time to get back to work. So let's bring on the negative. Negative in a way, but it's a vision, a more positive vision of the future. Hey, good morning, Jack. Good to see you. And this is from Time magazine. This is what inspired the article. As I was reading through, this is the best 10 video games of 2024. I covered this before, but it's like Helldivers is number 10, Star Wars Outlaws, got Wukong, Alan Wake, and Neva. This is a black guy that's just totally captured by activism. Silent Hill 2, Rebirth, Astrobot, and the number one is Veilguard. This is his number one game of 2024. It's crazy. Again, just an activist journalist, probably a DEI hire. Hate to say it, but it is. The fact that this guy gets, the guy doesn't even look like, from this list, doesn't even play video games, doesn't even enjoy video games. You have to wonder if it's just, he's just a cultural critic, essentially. But this is, like I said, what inspired it is he talks about the layoffs, first of all. Like he's record number of layoffs. He's crying about it. AI being another thing that's affecting people, video game developers. Then he goes on to talk about Sony's 30th anniversary, video game adaptions for both movies, television, Fallout, all this stuff. And I'm like, reading this, like, he's crying about the industry layoffs. He's crying about, all this stuff. But the reason this happened is because these games have become $200 million, like multi-million dollar, like astronomical production values. And then where you go in and then you talk about, you keep giving energy to all of this stuff with like Prime Video, secret levels, all this amalgamation, this like intertwining between the movie industry and Hollywood, television, and video games isn't helping it. It needs to go back to gameplay first if it wants to try to make compelling games that don't rely on giant budgets with cutscenes and motion capture and all this junk. It needs to get back to what made video games so good back in like the 16-bit or even the 32-bit era. Now that you have all these high fidelity graphics, the cost is just becoming astronomical. It's unsustainable. And you're going to continue to see game studios fail as they have to like make these, essentially they're just content delivery services at the moment. Or it's like, here's a story. It's like an interactive story that you walk through. We're going to put yellow paint everywhere so you know exactly what to climb. You won't get stuck for like 5 to 10 minutes because that would be too frustrating. You might leave and go somewhere else and get your content somewhere else. People just aren't even interested in playing games anymore or mastering games. They just want to like move on to the next level. See that the cutscene is essentially what you're earning through beating these games or like overcoming these challenges, getting to the next cutscene, getting to the end of the game, getting to the final boss and seeing the conclusion of the story. They're just story driven games at this point, and they cost $200+ million to make, like The Last of Us, or you have, I mean, Concord's its own thing. But think about this. This is what inspired me, and I realized when you're talking about journalists, the anti-woke crowd is the same way. The anti-woke content creators, they're the same thing. They're both reliant on this mainstream media and covering whatever they put out. So just like these guys, which these journalists aren't even, like Paul Tassi or this guy, Richard Newby, they're not even like really video game journalists specifically. They cover all sorts of geek culture stuff like video game movies, video game adaptions. They probably cover, maybe not anime, but, just the latest like geeky mainstream trends they'll write stories about because, that's what they need to get views. They have to get views. They're not tastemakers. They can't, push a, small, really good game that's, deserves attention into the mainstream. They're totally reliant on the marketing that other studios are putting out. They're hitching up to that, and then they're using that to get coverage, as much coverage as possible. And like I said, whether it's a journalist or whether it's geeks and gamers, that's the same. They do the exact same thing. They're reliant on the exact same thing. So if you look at, like I said, geeks and gamers here, Backlash, it's Rachel Ziegler. What does this do? How does this make gaming better? DEI agenda backfires on CEO. Pronouns will save Halo. Oh my gosh. Joker 2. Concord wasn't woke. All this stuff. Like, none of this stuff. Is there a positive video about a video game? No. It's like neurotic. Forbes writer attacks Star Wars theory. At no point are you going to see, like, hey, is a cool game. Where's the cool games I should play in this entire list? I could probably just scroll down endlessly and not find a single one. Dustborn, wow. DEI disaster, canceled. Star Wars, where's the good game? Oh, Baby Black with Moonkong is a good game and rejects feminism and DEI woke. He's got every single. He's pretty good at getting like every single buzzword in there. Feminism, DEI, woke politics. And this, so like he's totally relying on the mainstream. So whether it's Starfield, whether it's any of these things, The Penguin, Assassin's Creed Shadows, whether Trump, Ubisoft, all that, there's nothing there, no positive vision for what video games could be. And then you have side scrollers, the same thing. They want to, normal guys taking gaming back, collapse of video game journalism. He nailed it. He predicted the future. I guess some AEW clips. Where's the positive games here? Let's see. Maybe this Half-Life 3 preview, which I'll talk about. That might be a positive thing about video games. Let me see if I could. This should not have happened. Fraud. Zezer. They might have said some positive things about the new Indiana Jones game. Let's see. Do you guys see any positive video game coverage here? No, I don't. I'm not really seeing it. If it is, it's not a huge portion of what they're talking about. At least based on the thumbnails, based on what they're advertising, I don't see any positive video game coverage. And look, Star Wars side scrollers had an initiative to take gaming back here with the Real Game Awards. I've covered this before, but you look at this. What is this story? Taking back, hosting the Real Game Awards kind of sounds like a parody of the Game Awards. This is supposed to be the Game Awards, but better. But they have topics like biggest trash grab of the year, worst journalist of the year, you know, there's nothing against mocking, the horrible state of the industry. It definitely is bad. But how are you going to take gaming back if you don't use the space to highlight, the different genres? Where are the games that you should play, that you should give your money to? And they got, some of this: best MMO, best multiplayer experience, best RPG, best sports game. Of course, I'm not a huge fan, I mentioned before, of just like throwing action game and then just having a million things in it. Third person shooter, fighting game, best company, best Microsoft, Nintendo, PlayStation game. There's some stuff there, but again, they throw in like worst journalist of the year or worst bait and switch. They could have used this space better to throw in more video games that should be played. And again, this is like a once in a year thing. Basically once at the end of the year to highlight the best games. It's nothing it's not a weekly thing, it's not a monthly thing. Not, every day, every other day of the year, it's let's pick up what the latest mainstream news is. I cover some of the mainstream news, but essentially it's like, hey, what's the mainstream thing that's going on? Let's cover it. And that was the sort of this sort of summation of the article. If you have to rely on anti-woke, you're just going to be covering whatever the mainstream media decides is popular right now. Whatever the algorithm, they're essentially slaves to the algorithm of YouTube, of Twitter, whatever just pops up. They can't build a positive view of video games. They can't make good games, get the attention, get the profitability. Is that a word? They're not able to make that happen. And it's sad. This is why they have to kind of move beyond. I don't think they can. They're probably kind of captured by their audience at this point. But you have to go beyond just like what's woke, what's DEI, those kind of buzzwords. And if you really do want to like help the industry, you got to be able to like show games that like, whoa, these games are really good, or like this game's really fun. You should play this. You should give this your money. Like, it just can't be, is it woke or not? Because even games that aren't woke still, I can still have issues where it's just like, it's an unsustainable game that just focuses completely on narrative and not on gameplay. But some people like it, some people don't. But I'm hoping in 2024, that's one of my hopes with the channel, is I do want to cover still mainstream stuff, news, what's going on with that, because it is enjoyable. But I also want to highlight games that are worth playing, and topics that go a little bit deeper than just calling something woke or not.